Hi, everybody. This is Brian Castleberry at the College of William and Mary. I'm here talking with Patrick Picard, the writer and director of The Bloodhound. He's also a William and Mary alum. What year did you graduate, Patrick?
2014. There's one of my cats are up there. Sorry.
No
They're going to be
problem.
there. I graduated in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to ask before. I'd kind of forgotten. So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
This is your first film. I mean, as far as been a little while, it's been pretty fast for you to make your first feature film in just the last 6 or 7 years. It's a very surreal, aesthetically kind of challenging film, a demanding film, I guess, in a way. Very idiosyncratic. Did you run into any trouble, any challenges making such a kind of original film for your first film?
I didn't think about it until after it had been made, and then I thought that it was weird that it did get made. I mean, as a matter of fact, I didn't even really see it as being all that. I mean, I knew it was kind of strange, but like I didn't even see it as being all that strange. And I think what happened is I just got sort of lucky that I met a number of people that they liked what I was doing enough, just in short films and so forth, that they were sort of willing to take a chance on it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was difficult. Financing is difficult, period. But like when you have a film that isn't in any particular genre, it's not quite a horror film, so people can't, go sell it as a horror film, or it's not quite a thriller. It's in this weird sort of in-between space. And that was difficult to pitch people on. One thing that helped was that I just made this massive document with tons of photographs and supplementary materials, and I called it a companion. And it was a good thing to make that, because it was something that convinced financiers, to take a chance on somebody that's never made a feature film before. But yeah, I guess it was challenging. It definitely was.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about how it is kind of a mix of genres. It is kind of a multi-genre type of film. As I was watching it, I just kind of thought it was just so utterly itself that I couldn't even really categorize thriller or horror or anything.
That's good to hear. I wanted it to be its own thing, and it's a little bit. I talk about it a little bit as like a sheep in wolf's clothing, a little bit, because it looks like it could be, something real, really, really scary, or this or that. But it's I sort of snuck in the film I wanted to make, under that guise, But so yeah, I wanted it to be its own sort of thing. And I think the thing that really kind of trips people out about it is this kind of approach to the filmic reality that we took in it, which is I talked about with my editor, kind of like a cubistic approach to consciousness and unconsciousness within the story. How with cubism, they took background and foreground and sort of put them up on the same plane. And so what we were thinking about is taking the dreams in the story and the sensible reality of the story and sort of putting them up, against the picture plane, and having them have the same value in in a causal way, so that it's not just a dream. It's that there's a dream, but that dream happened to have an effect on what is going on next.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing I think that either people dig, and some people really dig it, or some people have no patience for at all.
Yeah. I hadn't. That's just a really cool way of describing the experience as a viewer. Like this cubist idea of bringing dream and everyday reality together at once, because that's definitely how it felt watching the film.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it had this like sense of like, well, did that really just happen? And there's even, of course, the dream. That JP has about his sister and finding her, and then that actually becomes a reality. There's that kind of thing, right? That it's kind of an overlapping of, I guess it's kind of a pure surrealism in that sense.
Yeah, I think that that's a little bit in the back of my mind. Like, I think I really, really like early surrealist,
Mhm,
uh, not just films, but early surrealist thinking.
mhm,
Um, um, just the value of valuing dreams and the unconscious. Like, uh, I always think, I was actually thinking the other day, because I had a dream, and it was so detailed. Uh, I'll give you a little taste of it, even though I know that this is also a fundamental problem with the film, which is that some people just find it intolerable. I mean, interminable to listen to other people's dreams or whatever.
yeah.
But it all depends on how well, I guess, you describe the dream. But I had this dream that I was riding in a Mercedes with Joe Biden, and I was in the passenger seat, and he was driving me around Los Angeles, and everything was so detailed in it. Like, I could look over and I saw a building. That building had some paintings hanging on the wall. I could see people walking around in the space. There was the stoplight there. There was that, and I was thinking to myself, like, my mind, do I have an unbounded access to a level of creativity and detail that I can actually create worlds within my dreams, or is my brain just kind of filling in that detail the way that, if you are making a painting and you get a few of the basic light relationships right, that fills in some detail for you or something. And I was, I've been fascinated with just like the amount of creativity we have buried that we maybe don't have access to, and how to find access to that.
Yeah.
And not just the creativity, but also like the whatever there is, like wisdom or whatever it is that we can find there, emotional growth, whatever.
Yeah.
This valuing of the unconscious that I think the surrealists were very interested in.
Yeah.
That's something that I think was in the back of my mind making the film, not consciously, but unconsciously.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like that original Surrealist Manifesto of trying to find kind of like this something above reality by using the unconscious mind too.
Is that what's his name? Not
Breton,
Aragon.
Andre
The
Breton.
Breton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you're onto something. Were you making the film during the COVID lockdown period? Is this just this tight kind of lockdown world of the story? Just as I was watching it, like, and I wonder how many other viewers as they watch it feel like COVID is there in a sense, like it's our time. It's
Yeah,
a
I
film for
know.
our time.
No, you're not alone on that. It's completely serendipitous. I
Mm.
made it before COVID. I made it before there was even COVID was even a twinkle in its bat mother's eye. And it just happened. Actually, incidentally, the physical premiere for the film that was going to happen in Los Angeles was canceled because of COVID. It had it sold out, and then they canceled it. And so that was in March, so last year ago. And so, no, I made it beforehand. It just happened to work out that by the time it was released, the film got picked up and got distribution. COVID had begun, and not only begun, but people were like fully in the isolation mode. And you're not the only one that's had that response. It's sort of driven people crazy. And but I think it's just a thing of like, trying to do a story that can hang around for a while. It happens to have a lot of relevance now. Maybe for a little bit it won't, then it will again, or like whatever it is. But yeah, I think it's just these are pretty normal human problems, but some people are probably in worse off positions than the characters in this story.
Yeah. JP does have all the money to kind of lean back on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how has this been coming out with your first feature film during this time?
Kind of weird and a little bit maybe anticlimactic in some ways. Like, I don't want to undersell like it's really great to have a film out that people are watching and responding to. But I still haven't even seen it with an audience in a theater. Do you know what I mean? Like and most festivals are online, of course, like this. It played one festival in Europe that was one of like the that had a live audience, but I didn't get to go to that, even though it looked great. I think it was in Poland. But I think the main thing that I kind of wish is that I could see it with a room full of people, because you can. I learned from just making the short films at the AFI that when you test them for an audience, or when you show it to an audience, you can actually read the backs of people's heads. It's really bizarre. Like even if they're not being vocal, like laughing or gasping at something, you can tell immediately like how people are responding to it. And I guess I would have liked to have seen that. I'd like to see that more than comments online or something like that.
Well, we start the film with the creature coming out of the water and creeping in, and before we really even meet the other characters. What do you make of the creature in the film? What do you feel like we should know or understand about it?
I mean, I think it'd probably be sort of disingenuous for me to kind of give some supplementary explanation for because there's a part of me that's not quite sure, and I want it to be that kind of like we were talking about this relationship to the unconscious thing. I found this creature to be sort of a it was a link to that gosh, how do you say this? It's almost like it passes between worlds, you know what I mean? And it was from an actual dream that I had, and it was I thought about it as kind of like the third kind of piece for me to feel like there was a full idea here, which was, first of all, there was a bit of the Poe thing, which we can talk about, but there was the Poe thing, and then there was my own thing, which was kind of the relationship between these two guys. And then when I had this dream about this Bloodhound character, I knew that it could belong to JP, and it just became this kind of third piece that was somewhat necessary. But again, like, I'm working in such a way that's a little woo-woo, you know what I mean? That's a little like you're trusting certain aspects of the unconscious kind of tie themselves together. But you're doing it with some conviction. You're not just being random, you're doing it with some conviction because it feels very, very correct. So I think in the film, he describes the dream. He describes what the character of the Bloodhound is doing, and they sort of give the game away. I mean, that's what the character is somewhat up to. Now, there's more to it, but that's the thing that is probably not right for me to kind of like fill in, you know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This kind of creature that roams between the unconscious and the conscious realms in a way.
Yeah.
I found the creature pretty terrifying. Um, Especially there were definitely some key scenes where I found him pretty scary.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like the thing that scared me about it when I had the dream was just was this kind of weird thing of like, you know, it's not like a creature that's all, you know, like it's not like a Lovecraftian creature where it's like scaly and some monstery thing. There's a thing about the fact that the confounding fact that in my dream it was wearing like a leather jacket, like it was some greaser or something, and some jeans, and so that kind of thing disturbs me for some reason. The fact that it's just something kind of it's not even that it's super normal. It's not a guy in khakis and a button up or something. It's doesn't make any sense. Why is he wearing a leather jacket? And for some reason that scares me. I don't know why. And some people, I think, like you're talking about, like you will see it and you'll kind of understand that space that it exists in. And then some people, I think, might just go, I don't know, you know, whatever.
Yeah, there's something uncanny about the creature, I guess. Like these parts that don't quite fit together, that worked really well for me. What about that relationship between the two friends? One of the things that interested me about the film is that that the story ended up being so much about friendship after all. Like that it seems like, you may begin to think that you're in a horror film. You know, there are definitely some of the trappings, but in the end, it's really about their friendship. And it also struck me in a sense that they're able, because of the strange place you take them to, the kind of strange level you take them to in a way, they're able to say things to one another that I feel like in normal life we don't often say to friends, you know, like walls were broken down or something.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. There's I was very interested in the friendship thing. Like that was the thing that kind of kept me, you know, because like just to make a feature film, like even a small feature film, you have to be like really interested in what you're making to like go through with it, you know, because you're like, it takes so long, and, you know, just writing the script and then getting people interested and getting people involved, getting money. Like you have to like, what is gluing me to this? Because you're devoting a portion of your life to it, and we're all trying to figure out what's worth devoting our lives, you know, to. And so the friendship thing was a thing that I kept going, okay. And it wasn't just friendship, it was this idea of friendship sort of in the face of the void, the face of like the unknown, like just this idea that it's a very strange, mysterious world. It's very confusing. We don't know exactly what's going on, but what we do know, I think at least, is that it's very nice sometimes to just have like a friend to talk to, and it helps, you know. And I know that that's sort of banal, but at the same time, it had a lot of truth to me that was actually pretty deep. You know, like what do we have to hold on to? And then so I like this idea of this character that was just this lonely, obnoxious, privileged guy who he's, you know, so needy and has, you know, alienated his other family members, and the one, you know, his last kind of ditch effort is to kind of recreate maybe some sort of feeling he had in his youth with a friend, and that appealed to me. So that was sort of the key there. But I really like this thing you say about they say things to each other that you don't find that you can necessarily say in normal life. I really like that. I think that's true because there's a certain aspect to it that's a little bit stylized. And the going in and out of a dreaminess, I think, does allow people to kind of utter things that that they wouldn't normally say. If you'll indulge me for a second, actually, I can tell you a quick story that's interesting. My editor told me this story, and it was before we had made it, and it was something that was very inspiring to how the language of the film developed. He was working on a farm in upstate New York for a while when, like right out of college. And he was in the farmhouse, and he worked for this guy. He was a very nice guy, kind of hippie guy. And he took some speakers from the guy, to go play some music. And so this old farmer comes in one night to David's room, and David's got this music playing loud, and he completely freaks out on David for using the speakers and playing this music loud, and it's very uncharacteristic of this man. It was just this bizarre kind of freak out that he had. And so David was very upset and returned the speakers and went to sleep that night. And that night he had a dream that this man came in and apologized to him. He said, David, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I freaked out like that. Of course you can use these things. I said you could use stuff in the house, blah, blah, blah. And they made amends. So he woke up and he went, man, too bad that was just a dream because that was so nice. And he went in to have breakfast, and this old farmer was there. And it was like nothing ever happened. The old farmer was being extremely friendly. It was never brought up again. And life went on. And so there was this idea that, was it just a dream, or did this farmer and I visit each other in a dream and something was communicated? And so we were very interested in that idea with the different characters in the story.
Yeah, that in a sense, I guess in one sense, like the whole film was kind of in a dream space. You mentioned before the Poe inspiration. What drew you to that story, the Fall of the House of Usher?
Yeah, that was totally random. It was just that I was trying to get some ideas. I think while I was at EA5, I was just trying to get some ideas, and I was sitting on my couch thinking that, like, if you just sort of sat there long enough, something would arrive, and it wasn't working. But luckily I sit across from my bookshelf, and I had a bunch of old books that had belonged to my grandfather, and among them was an old anthology of Poe stories that had a foreword from Vincent Price.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so I just thought to myself, oh, Poe. I wasn't like particularly interested in Poe, but I thought, oh, Poe, there's some atmosphere there. Let me see if there's something that kind of at least like gets my brain going with something else. And so I flicked it open, and the first story was The Fall of the House of Usher. And so I read the first 2 pages, and I got really jazzed about just the sort of general atmosphere that he creates. I think my favorite thing about Poe stories is usually the beginnings of the stories, because like there's a very beautiful thing set up and this great mystery. And then sometimes it ends in such a way that it's not really like my bag. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and just like a Poe, but that's not really my bag. But The Fall of the House of Usher is one of his stories that I feel ends with about as much ambiguity as it starts. It doesn't really give the game away totally, and it's got a lot of this stuff that people keep coming back to, and they have theories about it, but they don't really know what to make of it. And so anyways, I had read only a couple of pages of it before I started getting a lot of my own ideas, and then I knew I didn't want to make something that actually took place in in the 19th century but anyway, so then I pretty much wrote my own story, and then later came back and finished Poe, and ended up being somewhat faithful to the ending in some ways. But I mean, it's a pretty unfaithful adaptation, but at the same time, I think there's a spirit to it that I was orbiting,
Oh yeah, I thought you caught the spirit of it really well, especially that the mysterious way that story like brings these characters together. And I mean, you include at the beginning of the film, you include that quote requesting him to come and visit.
Yeah, right. Sort of antiquated, but funny.
Yeah, that is such a strange story too. Anyway,
yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't set it in a Victorian setting. You set it in this like very mid-century modern house. I love the set. I love this house. It's such a character in the story. Can you tell us about finding that location or?
Yeah. So it's so where do I start? It's a home that was built by the Austrian architect Richard Neutra, who he was a pretty big deal in Los Angeles. He was a protege of Frank Lloyd Wright, and he actually has a great home he built in Richmond.
Oh, really?
I don't know where you are in Richmond, but you should maybe check that out sometime. But anyway, he built a number of homes out here, and he's kind of a lauded architect. And I had a family friend who had bought Neutra outside of town, and they were flipping it, and I made a short in one. And I sort of fell in love with just his work, and I had, when I had written the Bloodhound, I thought maybe I could make it in this house I had shot in. And by the time I actually had the Bloodhound, financed and everything, that was no longer a possibility. And so I started, looking at like every, I could give like a tour of kind of modernist homes in Los Angeles. I mean, and there are a lot.
Yeah.
And it's tough because a lot of them are privately owned, and that's kind of makes it impossible. And then the other thing that is a bummer about most of the homes is that they've been renovated in sometimes kind of unfortunate ways, like the updates are not very interesting to me. And I knew I wanted like the spirit of like a true modernist home, not like a martini modernist home, but like a true one, one that had all those sort of like ideas in it, all that kind of like, there's something about that era of like number of Austrian modernist architects like Neutra and like Schindler, who they almost have this like they're so self-serious. It's almost like Wagnerian kind of like approach to modernism. It's like high modernism in like it's really like in the 30s into the 40s. Like a lot of people watch the film and they go, gee, that film, the house looks like it's from the 70s or whatever. And I'm thinking, no. 30s, baby. Like this is like real deal modernist home. So we got lucky with this one because I sort of started harassing these people that lived in the back house of the Neutra VDL, which is where we shot, which is actually where Neutra lived. It was his home. And so like those intercoms that are throughout the house, like he had one next to his bed so he could like press a thing and ask for, a cookie or whatever. And so I started kind of harassing these people that lived in the back house that worked at, I think, Cal Poly in the architecture department. And the home itself was like ostensibly a museum. They would do tours every once in a while, but it was empty, and it was only really vacated by people that were like visiting artists and things like that. So anyways, lots of like kind of, buying these people a bottle of wine and blah, blah, blah. And they agreed to let us film in there. I mean, it costs money to film in there, but
Mhm.
It was kind of a big deal to bring as much into the house as we did, and as many people,
Mm.
and having to put big tents of duvetine over the entire house to do nighttime, a lot of nighttime shots.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted this kind of modernist home. I didn't want to do sort of, you know, Victorian or Georgian or whatever kind of
Mhm.
thing. I wanted there to be this. I saw modernism as sort of like maybe what to us, maybe how Poe saw the architecture that he was writing
Mhm.
about in his stories, you know, in terms of time.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
and so it had a coldness to it that it was appealing to me.
Yeah, it fits JP's character so well too.
Right. I
The
know. He
kind of
looks like he was like came out of the walls of the place.
yeah, yeah, the coldness, but also that like high stylization of the place.
Hmm.
Yeah, really fits him. You make a cameo in the
Yeah, yeah.
film. I had to rewind. I only after watching and seeing your name pop up did I go back and realize, oh yeah,
Yep.
he
I
is.
know. I
Um,
know. I that was a I wouldn't. I don't think I'm going to do that again. But it was an important experience because what it taught me was that it made me a little more empathetic with actors, which
mm,
I didn't have any desire to be. And so what happened was I when I wasn't behind the camera or the monitor or whatever, and I was there, I felt like no one was paying attention to what I was doing.
mhm,
And nobody was like really, you know, like, is this any good? Or like, can I get some feedback? Blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden I'm this, you know, super, you know, insecure person or something. And then I thought, oh, gee, I get it now. This is how the actors feel. They want you to really pay attention to their work so that the energy stays correct, so that they don't feel like there's some
mhm,
astronaut lost, you know, out in space without it, you know, a tether. And
mhm,
and so I was like, oh, gee, okay, uh, I gotta, you know, not that I wasn't focused already on what the actors were doing, but I sort of realized, okay, there needs to be this sort of
mm,
communication, this you know, this thing going on, this real sort of focus. Um, and so
yeah,
when that wasn't there for me, even though, you know, I mean, God bless like my DP who was kind of trying. Um, I still thought, okay, that was a good thing for me to learn, even though I gave myself more takes than I gave any of the actors.
really.
I needed
But
it.
that's really cool that it was like a growth experience that it probably changes the way you direct.
Yeah, it
Just from
does.
that one little scene. Um,
Hmm.
what about what would you say are your influences? What kind of films and directors do you turn to or have kind of driven you forward?
Um, I mean, like so many. uh, the list is endless. I mean, we were talking a little bit before this about Shadow of a Doubt,
Mhm,
and Hitchcock, and I think that's somebody I find myself returning to a lot, just because I guess um, I guess Hitchcock had a real appreciation for the plastic elements of filmmaking, the way like a painter's painter has a real appreciation for just what paint can do, and like how it
mhm,
can, you know, how it can sing and how it can create emotion in and of itself. I don't like the whole sort of like um, form versus content kind of approach to it. I think it's a little bit more kind of mixed up for me, because I think that
mhm,
film has a way of like making, you know, wonder and emotion, you know, different emotions come to you. That's very mysterious, and it happens through form. And Hitchcock just has such a great way of building worlds in his films. North by
yeah.
Northwest. I mean, just like you can watch it and just get lost in like you're getting lost in the color, and the color is enjoyable, but it's also creating its own world. It's got a Hitchcock world, the way that like a Jacques Tati creates like his own, world. And it's just something I value. It's just something I think is interesting about cinema. And so I like characters. I like filmmakers that build their own worlds. I like Buñuel. You Buñuel. It's just like, you go for a little bit and you go in Buñuel's brain, but it's not. Also, he allows space for you, and I think Hitchcock does too, to kind of have your own realizations. They're not just forcing their ideas on you, but they're opening up a space in which you can discover these things for yourself. So I like them. And more contemporary, I really like Lucretia Martel. You know her work? She's Argentinian director. She made more recently she made a film called Zama. Yeah, it's based on the book. But I would say that she's real deal. One of these people that is able to use as a crude term, the plastic elements of cinema to create something, what do you call it? Transcendent. I don't know.
I'll have to check her out. Is Zama based on that novel about the colonialist guy that just wants to go home? And
yep, it's a
Benedetto.
Yeah, it's a confounding film because it's at once wonderful and extremely boring, which is amazing.
Almost the same way.
Yeah. But somehow it works. I don't know how. It's kind of like Tarkovsky's Stalker. It's like at once the most boring thing, but also unbelievable, and you keep going back to it, and you keep going back to it.
That's really cool. Well, we mentioned before at the beginning, you're a William & Mary alum. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your time here, or what you got from being a William & Mary student? I know a lot of students are in the audience. So.
Yeah, you know what? I really liked it. I have pretty much only good memories about it, and I think that it was sort of invaluable in terms of me having opportunities to explore making films. I mean, doing an independent study with you, where I made a film, and I got to do another for somehow I'm Chad and I managed to convince people to let us do independent studies, but that was such a cool thing that it was able to happen. I mean, I think that's a liberal arts school kind of thing. Really, really beautiful. And but I mean, on top of that, just the idea of at the time, I know the media center is like even way better now. I haven't been there since it was renovated, but I thought when I was there that I have everything I kind of need, even at this media center. I mean, I could make a film with this stuff, as long as you record the sound well. And that would be my recommendation to amateurs is try to get the sound well, and people will put up with any kind of picture quality if the sound is all right. And so I just started making things and was making them, for free, and playing around, teaching myself a little bit about, lighting and cameras, and getting to, recruiting some of the drama students to come, do some things. And I mean, I got into the AFI on the merit of a short film I made at William & Mary, and
I was
and it was
about that. Your post undergrad on what all that was about.
Oh, graduate school.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, once I made some shorts at William and Mary, and I thought, oh, this is something I might actually try to do. Because what I like about filming is it's so comprehensive, the medium. Like if you're somebody who likes a lot of different things, they become valuable in filmmaking, and I found that of a lot of William and Mary students, because it's this school where people they try all these different things out, and they have so many different kinds of interests,
Mm-hmm.
and I was interested, I was painting at William and Mary, and I was doing philosophy, and it was like, okay, I can bring all this stuff into filmmaking. And so then I applied, and I got into a couple schools, and I went to the AFI just because it's sort of legendary, for having, I think, some of like what I consider some of like the more important American filmmakers. Not that like you're gonna go to a school and have the exact experience somebody else did 35 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But still, you're just looking for anything to go off of. And I'd lived in California before, so I thought I could stand it, versus living in New York City or something. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like make a I'm not Scorsese or something. I can't make a film about like, I don't know, something in like Little Italy or like what. I have no clue. So I just thought I'd go to Los Angeles, because it's just like one big dumb suburb, which is like what I'm from, just like a dumb, suburban kind of existence. and so anyways, I went there, and it was kind of a great experience. I mean, I met everybody I know through the AFI. I met the producers that I made the film with. I met the DP that shot it, the production designer that designed it, the editor that edited it, and even financiers. It was good.
It strikes me the way you're talking. What's that? It's good.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of writers, because I do the Hayes Writer Series and end up interviewing a bunch of authors and stuff. And they almost every one of them end up saying, as kind of advice to students, like to build your own community, that writers need to meet other writers and become friends and share work and build these long-term relationships. It sounds like in film it's kind of the same. Is it?
Totally.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Especially, I mean, if it's true for writers, it's even more true for filmmakers, because you need so many people to make a film. Mm-hmm. It's sort of the good, great, and terrible thing about it, which is that you have to have collaborators. Mm-hmm. If I want to go make a painting, I make it, and nobody's standing over my shoulder telling me what to do, or even having a suggestion. But when you make a film, there's lots of that, and sometimes it's very good. Sometimes you go, this is another way of me getting the thing away from me a little bit and creating something kind of better. So I think you definitely need the community. You're gonna have a hard time doing it on your own. It might be possible in some weird way. But yeah, that was the biggest thing for me about graduate school was not necessarily learning things from the instructors who were great. It was more meeting the people. And I think I'm another way jealous of the surrealists in that sense, is that in the 30s they seem to just have an endless amount of friendships. Mm-hmm. And I think that doesn't exist. I want to go to a bar with a bunch of people and talk, kind of talk shit about philosophy or what or art, and have meaningless conversations. It doesn't really happen as much anymore, but maybe it will again.
Yeah, or at least often those conversations aren't with like the 20 other most important artists.
Yeah, exactly right.
Around here or something.
I know. Yeah, you look at your own collection of friends and you go, wait, is these my friends? Am I surrounded by 20 geniuses? I don't think so.
Do you have any other advice possibly for students or folks interested in film that, you know, want to get serious?
Yeah, and some people don't like this advice because I gave it to some interview I did, and they took it out. But I would say that it's actually somewhat important to be a little bit dumb. And what I mean by that is, I think this is definitely the case with William and Mary students, so it's something they should hear. They're always trying to get like things like way in order and like, you know, like playing it safe, you know, like you have to kind of like just go, all right, I'm going to be a bit dumb and like go for something kind of stupid here. And and you just have to trust that I mean, first of all, you have to be interested enough to want to do it, and it's already a kind of like very difficult and strange thing to want to do. So if you can manage to kind of be a little dumb. I don't mean dumb in your work. I don't mean make stupid stuff. I don't mean be dumb when you go to the grocery store. I just mean be a little, you know, be a little bit naive. It's going to help, because so many disappointments and so many rejections and people not being interested in this and that, and you have to kind of just say to yourself, no, I think I have something worthwhile that I want to make. And and if you can kind of fill your head with that, you know, helium, then I think that will help you out. I would say that. Make friends and get ideas that you really care about, and be a little dumb.
Yeah, I think that's actually really great advice.
Good.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. Great first film. So excited that the Global Film Festival is able to show it, able to have you here, even virtually.
Yeah.
And of course, good luck too.
Well, thank you, Brian. I'm happy you guys are playing the film. Happy to talk to you, of course. And then I'm reading your book. So when I finish your book, I'll come back to you with all my criticisms.
Oh, good. Yeah.
No, I'm sure I'll love it. So anyway, cool. Great talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks again.
All right.
Take care.